Tim, we've just had Harry Cole, political editor of The Sun, on confirming that Boris Johnson will tomorrow institute a 10 p.m. curfew on pubs up and down the country. What's your reaction?
I think the hospitality industry, which you rightly say is a very big employer, and it's also a massive, massive taxpayer, so it funds a tremendous amount of government expenditure, is perplexed because of the chopping and changing of rules. We were asked to lock down back in March with only a few hours' notice. There was no need for that. And we've only just finished an Eat Out to Help Out scheme to encourage people to go out. And it sounds to me as if the government and its advisors are completely at sixes and sevens. We're chopping and changing policies all the time. The public has become confused because they've lost sight of the golden rules which apply in this sort of epidemic. And everyone's wondering what's going to happen next. It's very economically inefficient. And I think it's, from a management point of view by the government, it's being incredibly badly handled. I'm a fan of the Swedish approach. They've had the same approach right the way through. And they say two things work: social distancing and hand washing. And lockdowns and curfews don't work. That's the problem.
Do you feel, Tim, like the hospitality industry is unfairly taking the blame for this increase in cases? Because the increase in cases was probably inevitable anyway. And actually, most experts think it's to do with transmission in private homes anyway, not transmission in restaurants or pubs.
Well, we've got 861 open pubs, and in 800 of them we've had no cases whatsoever reported by Public Health England, etc. And in another 40 pubs we've had only one. So if you have one case and it isn't transmitted to others in the pub, it doesn't indicate it's a high level of transmission. It isn't, provided you observe hygiene standards and social distancing standards. If you don't get too close to someone, you won't get it. That's what Professor Johan Giesecke says in Sweden, and I think he's being proved right. As time's going on, he's been proved right. I'll tell you just one other point. I really think this deserves a proper debate in Parliament, because a lot of us, including me, think the Swedish approach is very good, and then you've got all these other government committees, the SAGE committee, saying something different. It's at least worthy of a 2 or 3 day debate in Parliament. But you've got a lot of politicians and experts shooting from the hip, and neither the public nor hospitality businesses nor anyone else quite understands what the hell's going on.
No, indeed. Now, Tim, what's this going to be like? I mean, you know pubs in this country better than anyone. Is this going to be a return to the bad old days? What will happen at 10 p.m? How are you going to be able to properly police that? And do you believe this is just going to encourage everyone actually to pack into the pubs much earlier anyway?
It's so chaotic, I haven't got a clue. But I was brought up in New Zealand for a good few years where my old man was the Guinness rep, and they used to shut bars at 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
and
they did.
6 o'clock swill. So they realised that didn't do anyone any good, and they didn't drink any more when they moved it back till 11 p.m. and midnight eventually.
No, that's true. That is true. So maybe we're going to have the 10 o'clock swill now. And then the question is, these people are going to pour out of your pubs, out of Wetherspoons, onto the streets at 10 o'clock, all incredibly drunk without anywhere to go. And I can't believe that police are necessarily going to be on hand to patrol that.
Well, the police all said that when licensing laws in the UK were relaxed and everyone didn't pour out onto the streets at the same time, it had a beneficial effect. So I think that putting in curfews and saying people have got to leave at 10 o'clock, where are they going to go? You're saying to a 19-year-old, go home to your mum's at 10 o'clock at night?
No way.
You know?
No way. And exactly, and Tim, that's the point, because inside the pub, so inside Wetherspoons at the moment, social distancing is taking place. It's not taking place out on the streets, and it's not taking place at private parties. So that's why I just think this is a nonsensical move.
Well, I think Well, when you've got really simple rules like they've got in Sweden, social distancing and hand washing, you must remember those. I think that it works after a while because people understand it. When you start talking about circuit breakers, curfews, moonshots, eat out to help out, etc., everyone just gets confused. But if you stick to the two golden rules, social distancing and hand washing, you've got a good chance of fixing it because they are the scientifically proven things which work.
Are you slightly relieved, Tim, that even though there will be a 10 p.m. curfew, at least there's not a closure? There's not this 2-week circuit breaker closure, which had been considered up until the weekend by Downing Street.
I mean, to what extent can you possibly rely on what Downing Street is saying or what Sage is saying? Because it chops and changes every 5 minutes. No one has a clue where it'll be this time next week. So, yeah, it's better than a closure. It's better for the government too. But who knows where we're going to be in a week or two. What we want is consistent long-term rules that we can live with so that we can deal with this epidemic, which is serious, and do it in the right way.
And can your businesses and can Wetherspoons survive a second lockdown?
I think we'll survive a second lockdown because we've woken up to just how random the behaviour of the government can be. So we've raised some money and we're in as good a shape as anyone. But you will see that there are a lot of companies which aren't in as good a position as us. Independent publicans and restaurateurs, chains of restaurants have shut down in hordes. So it's terribly, terribly difficult for everyone, and it's not easy for us or for our employees.